Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have a wonderful day ahead of you. Today, I have for you my finalized free hit 34 draft, a wildcard 34 draft, which many of you have been requesting, captaincy, general updates, and press conference updates, as well as a touch on psychology, just because there's been a lot of chatter around the subject this week in the community. But before we start, you will notice a different introduction screen, and that is because it's my birthday, and more specifically, my channel's birthday. We are 1 year old. And for some of you who clicked on that first video, that is the introduction screen that you would have seen to kick us off. It feels like a lifetime ago. It really, really does. But I feel like it's gone really well in the meantime. And I'm delighted with where the channel's at and all of you guys supporting and interacting and what you've given me. So thank you very much. And that's literally all I wanted to say. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I very much look forward to looking back in another year and seeing where we've gone and come. So now we will go to the second part of the introduction, which is a little bit shorter, but of a similar nature. The second part of the introduction is also a thank you in the form of the fantasy show, because I got called up to go on there again. And it's just very cool to be working with the Premier League, on Sky Sports, and just on random places around the world. One of my friends sent me a picture of myself in a gym in Nigeria. I've seen it in a club in Thailand, and so on and so on. So that's very cool. And it wouldn't be possible without your support, just whether you've dropped a like or a comment or even a subscribe or not said anything at all, or even just watch the videos. That is immensely helpful in itself. So thank you very much. And that is that for the introduction. Now let's get into the nitty gritty. Let's just start with press conference and general updates as we usually do. Firstly, one we had yesterday on Harry Wilson and Ryan Sessegnon. As such, we could see we could use him from the start or bench. Sess is playing well. I need to decide, but Harry will be involved. That is what Marcus Silva said on both Harry Wilson, specifically Harry Wilson, but also a little bit on Ryan Sessegnon as well. As you saw in my team selection yesterday, he was taken out, and at the end of the video, you will see whether the draft has remained the same. But I still don't love these comments if I was a Sessegnon owner, because I just think that Harry Wilson really could get a start, especially because what I've seen from Fulham fans, I feel like they're pretty good. They seem very level-headed in their responses on X, compared to some other clubs, like, for example, United, who have a bigger fan base, probably a little bit more rowdy, I would say, on X. Whereas with Fulham fans, they seem very level-headed, and they weren't really particularly sure Sessegnon was going to start. More of a coin flip, 60-40, that type of vibe. So I personally would take that into strong consideration, because I think in a week like this, where you've got three good teams playing three promoted sides, to miss out on even one spot just isn't ideal. Muniz is out, so Jimenez expected minutes are up, and hence why so many, like myself, have gone for him, just in case you missed that. On Fabian Schär, they said, we hope he will be back okay. I don't really know what to make, given they lie through the skin of their teeth every single game week, pretty much. I would just avoid it, because do you really need to take the risk? You're already going to have triple Newcastle, just like you're going to have triple Newcastle in general, right? So it's not like you can have Schär injured and then off the bench you get like Trippier or Livramento. And as such, I personally would just leave it alone. That you've got Trippier, you've got Livramento, you've got Dan Burn if you like, you've got Nick Pope. I would go there. In terms of Sven Botman, they said Sven has trained well this week. Great to see him back with the group and on the grass. Well, you're probably not going to go there either, because why take the risk of either of these two? It's good to know that if Schär doesn't start, at least you have Botman coming into the side, and that's better for your clean sheet likelihood if you are to own Newcastle defense, or maybe double Newcastle defense. So I should be good to go. And the last thing I wanted to discuss here is what Arnie Slot said about Conor Bradley, and thus the implications on a very popular asset free hit, and that is Trent Alexander-Arnold. That depends, of course, on the upcoming two sessions, but he was getting closer and closer to 90 minutes in his last two starts. He then goes on to say, but we're taking also very... Okay, I probably messed that the quote up a little bit. But we're also taking very good care of him, because he had two injuries that were similar. So yeah, let's wait and see how he does today and tomorrow, if he's able to play. And if he's able to play, if he can make 90 also. Doesn't sound great for Trent. If you want to take the risk, I think it's smarter than taking the Fabian Schär risk. And I think there's more upside to this Trent move. I personally still think he's going to start. I think as long as Trent's even close to being fit, and he can just about push himself to let's say 60-ish minutes, to not give him the title game after everything he's done for the club and how impactful he's been on the entire journey, I think would be really harsh on him if he's good enough to go. And I just wouldn't want to toy with that. And he's almost definitely going to come on, right? So for me, I still think Trent starts, albeit it's not great if you definitely want him in your free hit. So if you're on the fence, maybe this will sway you off. And there's some other good options in general, right? Especially with Newcastle, Wolves, and Fulham all playing the promoted sides. So something to consider. I'm still okay with going Trent. I think he'll start, but just something to consider. Now, I very specifically made this slide in a particular manner because I intended to be quite dismissive of all other options aside from Mohamed Salah. Hence why it says on the slide that it will be a short slide. I prefer Salah to everyone by quite some margin. The highest floor of any asset in the game, the highest ceiling of any asset in the game. He probably has the highest floor in this game of maybe any other in the season, right? Given the title possession factor and how Spurs play and their form, highest ceiling for all of the same reasons, and he's the best player in the league. So to go against him in this type of week, I think would require a gargantuan asset, an asset who is unbelievable and has just the best prospects. And to be honest with you, I just don't see a single one who even comes close. Isak's cool. And when I was on the fantasy show, for example, 50% of people were going Isak and 25 Salah, which shocked me. Like I was so surprised. But yeah, I just couldn't justify it. He's cool. He's got a high floor as well compared to most assets. High ceiling as well, as long as he has a decent game and finds some form. But I just don't understand the risk. Unless you think that Spurs do like a proper job on Liverpool and they beat them. I just don't see the upside. Also, he's a forward, right? So like Salah gets an assist and Isak, I don't know, scores and gets 3 bonus. It's still only a 4-point swing. That wasn't the best example. Well, yeah, no, it was a good example because like if that was Salah, he could get an extra point for the goal and an extra point for the bonus. And that would make it 6, right? And that's like 50% more on top of what Isak was making on Salah. So yeah, especially given he's a forward, don't think I would go anywhere else. If you want to, then by all means, your team, do your thing. But yeah, I would find it very difficult to justify in a court of law. Palmer is there for you believers. I wouldn't, you know where I stand on it. I like him even less than Isak. I don't even have him in my team. So thumbs that up. But like of all the captaincy shouts in the world, I don't think it's the worst one. And then you could go like for a Newcastle mid, right? Like a Jacob Murphy. You could go for a Fulham asset like a Raul Jimenez. You could go for a Wolves asset like Van Larsen, Cunha, Semedo, Aït-Nouri, right? Like said that because I own 3 out of those 4. They could all come into the equation given their fixtures and potential ceilings, but I just don't think it's worth it. And that's why I made this slide in a very particular fashion, because I was intending, as I said, to be dismissive of all other options, to really put emphasis on how good I think Mohamed Salah is. I just think Mohamed Salah is very, very, very good, if not great. Now, for what has been heavily, heavily requested, and maybe is the most requested feature of this video, that is Wildcard 34. I will have to say that in comparison to maybe Free Hit 34, and not as much depth has gone into this in terms of my thinking compared to Free Hit 34, but I did do my best, and I did try to go out my way to come up with a good draft. What I noticed was that it was quite different to other drafts, and I'll kind of just explain why, or at least in parts. Pickford and Kepa rotate wonderfully. Like Kepa's got a decent chance at doubling in 36, but either side, like Pickford's got a good picture in 35 and 37, and Kepa's is good in 36, and he could he could double in 36. And yeah, I think that's good enough for you, right? Yeah, 38 could be a little bit better, but you're getting a lot from 34 to 37, or at least 35 to 37. This week, I'm starting Pickford over Kepa. One of the reasons I took Kepa out, my 11 in the free hit, is that I think Man United are going to score. Otherwise, I would have picked Kepa. And honestly, Chelsea, Everton keeping clean sheet, I don't think is so far out the realm. And this might be like a slightly, I'd say, controversial / not popular pick, and you know what, fair enough. But I would go Pickford over Kepa this week. Otherwise, I would have started Kepa in my own team. In terms of the defense, Guardiola's there because if he doubles in 36, great. And not just that, it's like Southampton away in 36. I need Guardiola as well. Good expected minutes. Maybe an extra game in 36, and then you could potentially offload him. So I think it just makes a lot of sense to have. Livramento and Aït-Nouri are very much there for the upside this week. Obviously, Aït-Nouri could double in 37 as 36 as well, but mainly just the upside this week because I didn't want to get destroyed on a wildcard this week and then have to claw everything back and do that just to hope that 36 kind of goes my way when there's no guarantees. And the probabilities and percentages are actually quite low. But yeah, Livramento, Aït-Nouri, and Pickford. And partnering them will not be Milenkovic, who's there for the fixture in 36, but also the potential double. The fact that he's a big threat from set pieces. Okay on the bonus system, I think. Like, okay, but certainly not as good as Olaena, but like, okay. And he's there for those reasons. But he doesn't start because, as you will see in attack, I've got double Brentford, which we'll come on to. So I would start Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and if he's not fit, you could, I guess, go Kilman. But personally would go Wan-Bissaka. Can see him getting an attack in return. Wouldn't be overly surprised for the reasons discussed in everything you need if West Ham keep a clean sheet. Unlikely, not banking on it. I think it's like out of this world. And I also think that given the squad structure and the fact that you're not on a free hit, you're going to have to make some sacrifices compared to our like dream 11s. So that's something else to consider. Potential double in 36. And even that aside, a lovely fixture in game week 38 for Ipswich away. And when you look at the other defensive fixtures that these guys have as a unit, not great. And that'll be worth its weight in gold on 38. Now, will he keep a clean sheet? Maybe. I think given it's Ipswich's last day, they already know they're relegated. There'll be a strong desire, I think, to send off in the right way. So whether they do keep a clean sheet or not, I'm not entirely sure. And I think it's actually less likely in that game, but it's still one of the better fixtures to have, right? That's why I like him. And then moving on, I've gone Morgan Rogers because I personally think that Villa are going to beat Palace in the semi-final. And then if they are to double, you want a Villa asset. I purposely didn't put Konsa in that Wan-Bissaka spot because I don't think I'm going to want a Villa asset for Spurs at home and Bournemouth away. Yeah, and Bournemouth away. Like, I don't think I'd want Konsa for that. I wouldn't mind it, but I don't want it. Like, I back both of those teams to score and for a similar outcome in comparison to double game week 33, which was underwhelming. So if I am to get Villa assets, I'd probably just get two because I'd get Rodgers and Rashford. But what you have to consider about this double game week is that we don't just have a free hit afterwards, right? So all the guys blanking, oh, no big deal. They just come and play 2 weeks after. We don't have that luxury this time around. So that's why I'm also not going so heavy on having like 9 doublers. For example, Salah picks himself. No, there's literally nowhere else, right? Like the quality of options isn't good. There's just nowhere else to go. And do you really not want to have him for this game week? You probably do. Bowen, you know that I'm in love with. Spoke about the West Ham aspect, and then I've obviously spoken about his aspect in pretty much all my videos this week. I won't go into too much there. Mbeumo's on my free hit, as is Bowen, as is Salah. So the midfield's actually quite strong. And then Mbeumo's got obviously a lovely fixture in 36. And just in general, one thing I've said to myself with this squad, and we'll talk about it specifically when we get to Wissa, is I'm okay maybe not having one more fixture than other people, just to have this Mbeumo Wissa double up. They're in great form. They score so many goals. They score so many points. And they have good fixtures. So just let them run. Like Spurs and Man United have both got... that might be Bowen's fixtures. But either way, they've got Ipswich. They've got a good set of fixtures, right? And I think when they're in such good form, let them run. Last midfielder is Clivett. Now, do I want him on a free hit? No. But he could double in 36. And I think you'd want him for that. Is he a bad option on free hit 34? Absolutely not. Quite a few people have him. And not only do they have him in the squad, but also in the starting 11. So more than a good enough option to have. Yeah, sure, I'd prefer to have Jacob Murphy in the spot. And yeah, sure, I'd prefer to have Strand Larson and Raul instead of Wood and Wissa. But I don't think it's that bad. Like, I really don't think having Clivett, Wood, Wissa versus Murphy, Strand Larson, Raul is that bad. Especially out of like Wood and Wissa. To not get a goal and then a couple bonus out of one of them that game, I think would be very tough. A very rough outcome if that was the case and you were to go for this draft. And then Wissa I kind of spoke about in conjunction with Brian Mbeumo. Some people have Marmoush here and then play 4-4-2. I'm just okay betting on the fact that maybe City don't reach the final and then you don't necessarily want them for 36. The only thing is they do have Southampton and then they would also play in 37, so there's certainly some utility there. And you could do that, right? But I prefer having Wissa's upside this week and playing 3-4-3. And then if I need to move into Marmoush, if City double, then so be it. I might not buy a mid from them, right? Like we saw in the last game. Aside from De Bruyne, you don't really want any of them. And just in case like De Bruyne gets benched in one, well, that's a possibility. You don't really want to do that. And then lastly, Chris Wood, for me, had to be in the side. Chose him over Cunha because he could double in 36. Yeah, so could Wolves. I just think it's more likely that Forest do than Wolves do, in my opinion. And he's got a great fixture in 36. And I prefer his 36-34 combo in comparison to Cunha's. I think he could score this week. And I think there's goals to be had in that Forest-Brentford game. Hence why I'm happy enough to have triple attack in this fixture on this Wildcard 34. What I would say is what I said at the start. Definitely go and check out other drafts because I'm not as well informed on this strategy as I have been on other strategies in the past. I've tried, but like it's only research that I've done today. I would definitely go and look at some other drafts, but I do think it's a good basis to build off. And the last thing is, it was built very much with double game week 36 in mind. Let's just say City and Villa win, right? Then I'll have Kepa, Vardiol, Cliver, and Rogers, 4 doublers. You have 2 transfers, you'll get to 6. Okay, fine, maybe you want 7 and you take a hit, right? And that's about as high as I'm willing to go with how many doublers I'm probably going to get, like 7, when you consider the blank in 37 and also having a decent squad this time around. So it was built very much with that in mind. Let's just say Forest win, for example. I've got Milenkovic, I've got Wood, I've got Kilman, or I've got Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I've got Bowen. I've already got 4 there. That's not to mention if, like, let's say Villa win as well, and Rogers is to double. Great, I have 5. I have 2 free transfers. That'll be 7. So I'm kind of just covering both outcomes. And from there, we can go ahead. I didn't want to just put all my eggs in City's basket. As mentioned in the introduction, psychology and subjects surrounding it, like strategy and risk and more, were discussed a lot in the community this week and were a hot topic. So I thought I'd chime in with my 2 pence. And what I mainly have to say is that I don't think one size fits all with this, because everyone has different goals and philosophies will stem from them subconsciously. And therefore, the actions that you should, quote unquote, should be taking from there will all be different. As an example, right? Some of you will have an interest in solely playing optimally, and you will not care about EO, you will not care about risk in terms of mini leagues or general risk, and all you want to do is maximize expected points. If we are to define optimal as defining maximizing expected points. And that's great. If that's how you want to play and that's your philosophy on the game and that's your perspective, great, then do that and like pick a squad which aligns with that. Similarly, if you are a manager who wants to play it safe and you've got a lead over your mini league rivals, or you care a lot about risk and EO and you're not willing to accept a certain threshold, which maybe other managers are willing to do, then it's absolutely okay to build a draft of Raul, Cunha, Isaac, Palmer, Diaz, Salah, Murphy, and so on, right? And just build a really template draft. You'll probably get a green arrow, or at a bare minimum, you won't get a big red arrow. And, you know, you can just take the gain and go from there. And I don't think either is good. I don't think either is bad. I think it just is. And whichever one you want to go for is absolutely okay. And that's what I would say when it comes to risk and strategy this week. It's very much about what type of manager and person you are and taking decisions from that standpoint, as opposed to like this 1 week thing where like, oh, because it's a free hit, I have to do this. Or, oh, because someone says this is the right way to play, that you have to do. I don't think that's how it works in this game, because like I said, everyone has different goals and different perspectives in general on what is right and what is wrong. So that is my 2 pence on this. To add a further 2 pence coin for myself, I align more so with the first one, and I just think maximizing expected points, not irrespective of VO entirely, but not caring about it too much and not worrying about that type of risk too much. It's just where I think is the quote unquote right way to play, or the way that I am going to play. And that's just my 2 pence on how I see the game. If you align with that, great. I imagine more of you would do that because you're watching this channel. But like I said, even if you're not, literally not a problem at all, because there is no right and wrong, I think, in this scenario. To finish my finalized, for now at least, free hit 34 draft. And what you will notice is it's the same side as yesterday and nothing has changed. Now, the two spots up for grabs are Tina Livramento and Brian Mbeumo. But I don't think they're going to change. I don't think much is going to change. Oh, I don't think anything is going to change. So I think I'll be going into it with this. I'm really happy with it. I don't really feel an urge to change it. Yeah, there's no Palmer and assets such as him and like template EO options. Honestly, I really fancy all these guys to do well. And yeah, given I'm confident in it, I would suggest considering some of the picks if you haven't gone there. Just give them the time of day, and obviously if you don't like them, then by all means just pass them by. But yeah, like I said, really happy with the team, and we shall see what comes of it this time tomorrow, to be honest, because most of it will be done by then. And the 3 o'clock games will be really fun because I'll have 8 players in those, and it's very rare that you have 8 players, all under 100% EO, that you can all pretty much root for. Maybe Alexander Isak aside. And that is all she wrote for this one, ladies and gentlemen. I know I haven't replied to many comments on transfer plans or everything you need or team selection. So tonight I will get through some on hopefully all the videos, but at least solving a problem. So any questions or comments, then just drop them below. More than happy to help and hear them and answer them. Equally, thank you for dropping your teams in the team selection comment section below yesterday. I certainly enjoyed going through those and seeing what you came up with. That's about it. If you enjoyed the video, I certainly did, drop a like on it. If you haven't subscribed around here, as we push for 8,000 subscribers, consider doing so. And again, thank you so much for your support with the channel being 1 year old and the fantasy show. Have a wonderful weekend. I shall see you on Sunday for transfer plans for a review as well. And I'm sure on the other side, it'll be a very interesting thing to look back on. Have a wonderful weekend, guys. Goodbye.